Well, hello everyone, and a good Monday morning to you. Welcome to Studio 84, coming to you from Bugalobi to start the week off with some pearls of wisdom. And what better way to do that with a chat with a girlfriend? Good morning, Ruth. You happy to introduce yourself?
Hi, Rafi. Good morning. My name is Ruth Aine. I am the curator in Maraboxes uh, and now a member of the BNI community. Thank you for having me.
Welcome on board. Indeed, BNI is how we met, although I know you've known some members for much, much longer. So what is it
Yes.
that you represent in BNI?
I represent a gift retail company called Maraboxes. We do everyday gifts, celebrations, all in a gift box all year round for all occasions.
Wonderful. So happiness in a box, guaranteed. That's how I see it.
I don't know why that keeps coming up. Hamis said that should be my tagline. I'm like, Then you bring it again, and I'm like, happiness in a box? Really?
So what would happiness be to you?
Oh my God. So far, um, a good movie, and making sure it's cloudy outside, like no heat, no sun. So we're all cozy, cabin. Yeah, even if there's no TV, but lots of coffee, lots of tea. That is happiness for me.
Oh, I understand. And a cloudy day does have its charm after all.
It definitely does. And growing up in Kabale, I think for me, that is what I always go back to. I'm like, why is it so hot? This doesn't feel like it. I was so used, I grew up wearing a sweater every day of the week. So I don't understand how, one, people in Kampala don't own sweaters or how they don't wear sweaters or carry one around with them. It's always going to be a sweater or a jacket or a scarf for me, just so that in case the temperature drops, I'm ready for it.
I'm with you. I never leave home with something either because the weather can be a little unpredictable.
Very unpredictable in Kampala.
And I
Yeah.
must say, Kampala has become very hot over the years when cities, grow and develop, and then you're surrounded by cement and all the trees have been cut down. There's no shade to be found anywhere.
I know, very true. Yeah. So
Indeed. My car broke down on, what was it, Tank Hill Road. An electric circuit, something went wrong. And I realized as I waited for the mechanic, there wasn't a branch to stand under. Everything's gone.
I know it is all like what's interesting is when you see the aerial view, it actually looks greener than when you're on the ground. So I don't know what to call that. But I mean, we are not planting any more trees, but we are cutting down a lot more. And I think that in years to come, especially going by the winds that we have had the last couple of days, it's going to get worse.
Interesting that you said that. I mean, first time I saw a notice saying don't go to on the lake because of the strength of the winds.
No, it has been very, very bad outside my house. You'd think that I had people come in and say, "What is that is outside?" Because it's just like woo, woo. So it's like you're by the ocean,
Yeah.
and you just have that strong current that keeps hitting by the bank. But now you can't see anything, and they're like, "Okay, there's supposed to be trees. Is it like it just doesn't make sense?"
Absolutely. Well,
I have a couple of friends who are about 45 kgs, and we keep telling them to put stones in their pockets. Hi, Jem, in case you're listening to this, just so that the
bless.
wind doesn't carry them away.
Well, and in fact, because of the lack of trees also, which would actually be a natural barrier. So I remember reading, a man who knows the value of life is a man who plants a tree, knowing that he will not be the one to sit in its shade.
That makes a lot of sense.
You like that?
That makes a lot of sense. You have in it in you that you're planning for the future, and one of the things that you are doing is by leaving people things that they will enjoy, but also things that make the environment a better place, cleaner air. Now we see windbreakers. Yeah, that makes totally makes a lot of sense. But also, I think that we also, growing up, it made sense that all of us had a garden to tend to. It was a rite of passage that you learn to nurture life. And it was always either cabbage or green pepper or tomatoes just by the garden. I mean, but just by the house. And if you are interested, sorghum, maize. I mean, I know that I grew up seeing my parents going for leave at 6 a.m. in the morning and come back at around 3 p.m. because they've been either planting sorghum or harvesting it. Beans, maize, all those things. I think we are seeing a lot less of that these days, and because of that, maybe part of what is our heritage, which should be a green country or a green environment and community, no longer exists because of that. We wake up and just the just the paper.
But it's very true,
All
and I
that
mean these
needs.
are skill sets.
Yeah.
When they do those shows like Survivor, when they plonk you on an island somewhere and they want to see how you figure it out. So I remember in Italy a few years back they had all these celebs on the island, and what surprised everyone was that the oldest gentleman, who was a famous singer in the 60s, 70s, etc., he had the best life skills. Why? Because his parents had raised him on a farm. So he knew how to light a fire, build a shelter, hunt, fetch for food. They survived thanks to the old man. They didn't get rid of him because they realized they were
He was the only one
absolutely
who was
lost.
feeding them.
Yes.
I know. No, yeah, we don't get that anymore. And because we're now living all in concrete jungles, um, even what would have been the space for a potted plant, even in some places, you don't even have space for a potted plant,
Yeah.
or even potted herbs. So you don't grow your onions, you don't grow your rosemary or your lemongrass, which I love, just because one, you've never seen it being done, but also you don't have the space
Yeah.
and the time. I mean, even having grown through my mother's garden, I know we used to plant a lot of carrots, a lot of kale, a lot of dodo, maize, avocado. We had an avocado plant, we had a guava tree, all those things that never missed. Even after all that, I still tell people I have such a bad gardening arm. I kill cacti, but I know what the concept is. So even when I cannot do it myself, I'll have someone else do it for me. But I have to ensure that there is, that kind of life growing around me. But also the fact that it helps you to think on your feet. It helps you to look for solutions for things that don't exist. I remember getting to my new house, and the first thing I didn't see was there's a clothesline. I'm like, why don't we have a clothesline? I'm like, where are we supposed to wash from? Where is the sewer system for, or a provision for a sink or something to wash your hands from the outside before you get into the
Yeah.
house? And there was none. So I had to put, a tap at the outside. I had to look for a clothesline, put poles, and that is because I have seen these things.
Yeah.
And for me, it was very, like, some of the things you're like, this is my home. And the first thing you think is, where do I put my clothes to dry? Because I have seen it. So if you've not been able to experience some of these things, then it becomes hard for you to even imagine putting them in place for you or even for your children.
Absolutely. And using, well, maybe logical is not the right word, but using, I mean, simply the sun. I mean, I'm also all for drying clothes outside and fresh air. And sometimes, my girls, very often I'll even say to them, go play in the mud. Just go outside, get off the gadgets,
Yeah.
experience, the garden, experience nature. Just be at one with it, because that's also changed, I think. I mean, we grew up playing outside. And also, for example, I mean, I remember not only playing outside, but also being more exposed to pets, animals, etc.,
Yes.
building possibly a little bit more of an immune system.
Yes. I mean, my parents were both teachers, so we grew up on around school so much. There's always a school farm. They used to teach, the students gardening, and there was always that kind of, livelihood going on around us. And my brothers would leave the house, I don't know, after breakfast, 8 a.m. on the holidays when we had no school. And they'd come back at about 6 p.m. all looking like, what have you been doing? They would have cuts, they would have so much soil and dirt on their clothes, and I'm like, oh my god, like I don't even want to know. Then next day you're plucking out jiggers, and you're like, but now I'm like, we used to see that as life. We used to think that that was being in a village, that was not being in a town. I mean, you don't have TV. Anyway, those days there was no 24-hour TV to keep you busy anyway. However, now that I look at that, I'm like, that is how I want my, offspring to grow up, like experiencing nature,
Yeah.
learning physics by putting water in a tire and using sticks to move it.
No, but absolutely.
And building, stuff out of mud, out of
Yes.
stones,
Yeah.
those things. Yeah.
It's true, though. A lot of freedom has been taken away from kids today. You wouldn't let them loose around the city the way you did once, because I know, fellow friends tell me they used to roam the city even, 20, 30 years ago as kids. They'd be able to move from one football field to another, from one part of town, walk, hitch a ride. Now you wouldn't do that.
Not with all the traffic in the city.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So things have definitely changed from that point of view, allowing kids to experience and experiment. And as you say, leave home in the morning, come back just in time for dinner. And who knows where lunch had been obtained that day? No questions
No
asked.
questions asked. You're just glad they're in one piece.
Exactly. And that they came back to roost at home.
Yeah.
Indeed. Well, what other changes have you seen in the city? Because you've not always stayed in Kampala. You've come and gone, right?
No, I've come and gone, but also I grew up in Kabale. So for me, that was, I would love to live in it. I think that also gave me the small town mentality of where you have access to everything, but it's all within a walking distance, 20, 30 minutes you walk and go to a supermarket, go to church. We walked everywhere, actually. I mean, you wake up, walk to church. I mean, these days I think about because I go out for my walks, and I'm like, how did we used to do this every single day? There were no cars. My parents did not have a car until my mom started working for a school that could then, where she had to hold a whole fundraiser for the school car. Because, the amount of money wasn't enough, even when, kids were paying school fees for them to be able to get a car. It was seen as a luxury. So my dad had 3 bikes, He had like a sports bike, then he had the everyday bike that he used to, go and ride up the hill. Like, I still don't know how he did that. Like, actually, what they'll do is when they get to the hill, if you have been to Kabale, Rugarama Hill, they'll pretty much push the bike up until they get onto a level land where they can start,
Pedaling
riding.
again,
Yes. So there's that freedom of being able to walk anywhere, and not worried that you're going to get, what's the word, blown off the road or hit by a car or by a border or bikes. Yes. And I think that is such a luxury these days, that you have to schedule time to get out and walk.
Yeah.
We walked everywhere every single day. As long as you're going to school, you're going to walk. As long as, and then, we also had things like sports day, which was at least sports day was once a term, but every 2 days a week, you knew you had physical exercise. You go to the sports field. Every after class, there's either netball or rounders, or the boys are playing rugby or football and the girls are playing netball, or you're Girl Scouts, you're going trekking, you're, knitting, things that now that I have learned, have, amped my creativity because I'm able to play around with just about anything. I know that certain things exist, so I know that knitting needles exist. You may not find them in the supermarket, but you'll go and look for them.
Yeah.
They are there. The types of yarn, thread. You can crochet a sweater or little booties, or just even a scarf for your friends. Being able to put your hands to work to create just about anything, baking, cooking, all those things. Like this, life skills that these days are totally a luxury. Like, we are in awe when there's a chef that's trying to, experiment with food or different. But we did these things as we were growing up, because you had to, you had to spend time or find things to occupy yourself, especially during the holidays and, that kind of a thing. So, a lot of that has changed, just the way how we manage time, but also the fact that I'm not able to walk everywhere. Yeah, so
It's very true. Sometimes I actually laugh when I think it would be so automatic to just get out the door, walk wherever you have to. Of course, if it's within reasonable distance, let's say, and manageable with your day's program. But it's true, right now one has to plan if you're going to walk, and then you need to factor in security. I used to walk with the girls, and one day Veronique was almost thrown over by a boat. I got such a scare
yeah.
that I stopped taking them out for walks because you can't control that. We almost went toppling in a ditch. So, I mean, it's quite the adventure sometimes in some areas
Yeah.
if you go walking, which is a pity because walking is, I mean, it's healthy, it's invigorating, it helps you meditate. It's a moment, when you're at one with what you have to do. It's a pity indeed that it's something that in a way, in some places has been taken away or is not as easy to do as
I
once
know.
upon a time. And I like what you say about acquiring all these different life skills because you never know where
What-
your talent lies or where your passion lies.
Or just what life will throw at you.
Exactly, and
At
sometimes you need
what
to
age.
reinvent yourself. So
Definitely.
having these different experiences and backgrounds definitely helps.
No, it totally does. You find yourself going back to the things that are familiar, going back to the things that are skill sets that you have learned and held on to. A lot of nostalgia of this is what my grandmother told me, this is what my mother told me, this is what I used to do while I was young. And also the notion of the fact that, there's nothing new under the sun. So you also are given the liberty to be able to dream big, but also know that anything is ultimately possible because you have seen it.
Yeah.
And also not just be celebrated as a jack of all trades, but also know that it is actually possible
Yes.
to do as many things as you're able to, and also flourish at them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you believe that the hand has a memory, the muscles of the hand, if you keep doing something?
No, definitely. I think I see that a lot with my crocheting. There's a time I was actually crocheting and giving away scarves, selling them. I see that a lot with my cooking. I see that. I mean, they say that a lot about computer, computer as well. Yeah, but I think that once you have done something, then repeatedly, then it's something you can do easily do in your sleep. So it becomes a part of you, so you never lose that. You may, I mean, depending on the physical and environmental changes that have gone on around you, I mean, obviously, your hand may not be as quick as it used
Yeah,
to be when
yeah.
you were 10, or your feet may not be able to carry you as as they used to when you were 12 or 13, but you still know that it is possible because you have done it. So definitely, the hand is always going to remember what it has been taught, or once it gets back into the right setting, as long as it's within a familiar space, then you're able to do as
It
much.
should go back to what it knows.
Yes.
Indeed. And so walking is something that you do for relaxation?
Exercise really, because my body can't handle any what the word? I cannot
Do like extreme cardio?
exactly
Okay.
or over exert myself.
Uh-huh.
So it's for exercise, but like you said, I mean, I hadn't done it in a long time, and I remember getting back with my headphone on, and I had like a whole dance session for about all of 20, all of 20 minutes. And I know my therapist would have said, "Yay, well done,
Wow.
you," because if there's something she always said, "I want you to," I don't know if it's take your clothes off or whatever it is, blast music and dance. You need to be happy. Like I need to feel you be happy. So I do that as a way of relaxation, as a way of meditation, and just for my health as well. Yeah.
So dance is a happy place?
So dance is a happy place, but I think I'm very, very self-conscious that you not see me out dancing.
Okay.
But also, I mean, because of the fatigue issues and all that, I have to control the space that I'm in at that time. So yes, when I am comfortable, yes, you'll see me throw down.
Well, I'm
When I'm in
waiting
a
for that
very familiar
opportunity.
space.
Well, I personally, I love to dance. You know, I choreograph for all the shows that CADS puts on.
Oh, okay.
So my mother was a ballet teacher, and she taught for 37 years. And I was her student for 17 torturous years because, bless her, she was really did not practice nepotism. She was brutal towards me, not to show favoritism. I mean, I had to audition to play the part of a rat in one of her shows. I had to audition to play the ugly sister. And boy, did I rock that role. But I mean, the fact that she auditioned me as her daughter.
She was trying to tell you that's what life is.
Right?
I mean, like it's never about who you know, it is what you know.
What you know.
And sometimes it's about who you know, but
In this case, it was very
what
much
you know
about what you know.
what you know gets you through the door.
And so, although it was traumatic on one hand, it's still something that brings me a lot of joy. You know, whenever
like,
I can
did
dance,
that.
I did that. No, indeed, I did that.
Yeah.
And to mark herself, she would then send me off during the summer holidays to attend summer courses abroad and get marked by other teachers to make sure, that. Anyway, so it was a good experience. And ballet is a martial art, let's face it, very disciplinarian. It's extreme,
Yeah.
it's unforgiving, etc. So I must say, lots and lots of discipline. By the time you put Russian and French culture together in anything, it's like, wow. So that was a good experience. And now I carry, as you say, I carry that forward because I saw her do it. And so now through Kampala Amateur Dramatic Society, which is all volunteer-based, I teach kids from the age of 10 and above. And every year we put dances together, and it's really for the joy. Because it's not a competition, and you don't come out with an award. It's not a course.
Yeah.
But it's really just to bring joy to the community.
But also to learn a skill.
Yeah,
And know that you
definitely.
can be good at something else.
Because dance helps kids also with coordination, balance, rhythm, memory, stage presence, confidence. It actually does a lot.
A lot more. Yes, it does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's always a diva in the crowd. So there's always someone who's elbowing everyone else to appear in front. Usually it's the youngest little girl on stage, and you have to literally tie her to something to keep her from stepping on everyone's. It happens every year. It's hysterical.
Yeah.
There's someone on stage, me, 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 me.
But then I just know that they are doing so well, or that they will be fine once they go out on their own, because they will know,
True.
what the world is, what is waiting for them in the world, but also what they can offer the world.
So now that you've said that, are we born confident? Do we become confident?
I think we are born confident, but then depending on what the environment around you is, you begin to lose and second guess yourself.
Yeah.
So if you grow in a loving family that pushes you to be the best that you are, then you are going to flourish in those areas. If in any way you then are told, like, I mean, for all of us that have grown up in African homes, we we keep talking about how this our generation is the one that is undoing all the trauma that has lasted decades and generations. But I mean, like Lois said, I've grown up everywhere I have been as a girl. I've been told, sit down, sit properly, be courteous, look like this, prim and proper, that kind of a thing. And then you grow up in life, and then you realize, yes, a lot of that is okay, but also it matters more if you're authentic, if you're your own authentic self, but most importantly, if you embrace who you are, because we're all not the same, we're not equal at all, and also beauty comes in all forms and sizes and shapes, and languages. So, we are born. I believe we're born confident. I mean, you see these little kids, just the way just the look in their eyes, even when they are not able to speak, or like they will express disgust, they will they will express pain, they will express happiness. Anything with them goes. If they feel it, they will express it with absolutely no inhibition. But imagine anyone else, then, by the time you're 4, they're like, why are you making so much noise? Why are you not sitting? Why are you not, The questions begin to come in, and depending on how you are taught to then express yourself, some of us lose that along the way, while others do not. Yeah, so it is how we're nurtured, I believe.
Very true. And they say kids sing before they speak, dance before they walk, and draw before they write. And it takes confidence sometimes because you're revealing parts of yourself as you're doing all that. And then you start hearing those voices saying, don't do this, not here, not now, why?
Yeah.
So it's very, very true. I like the way you said it. Born confident, and then, depending on what's around you, it can change. Because I must say, but true, some of the trauma is being undone. I find that younger generations are allowed to be themselves a bit more, and we are embracing, or when you have a strong-willed child and they say, if you can manage to ride that wave, you might actually be shaping someone who will change the world eventually. So just hang on.
You know,
And,
you never know. No, that's totally true. I mean, who knew we would turn out to be like this when our parents were trying to groom us? No.
and I think maybe as a curve, um, I find, when they say 40 is the new 30 now, and I find that women in their 40s are finally taking hold, or hanging on, or just allowing themselves to be themselves, rediscovering passions, going back to those things of once upon a time. I want to bake cakes. I don't necessarily want to be a corporate hotshot. I actually want to bake cakes.
I think that a lot has changed, and we one getting more comfortable with who we are. We are understanding that society doesn't always have to dictate what it is that we are and what it is that we should show the world. But also, we're discovering that there's also a lot more that we can do with just who we are. And yes, so yeah, I mean, so you're talking about the corporate hot shot. That's what we were all groomed to be. Are you a lawyer? Do you work in a bank? Do you? By the time we got, I remember by the time I finished uni, I had, yes, it was being, I mean, as a journalist, trained communications journalist person, the thing I was looking at was I wasn't looking to the media room. That is so weird. Like, I didn't want to go to a media house, but I wanted free will. And blogging was the thing then. So that's what I got right into. And it shaped my view of the world. It shaped my life from then on. And my career has pretty much been as a product of that free will to be able to express myself. Saying I'll not be confined to a newsroom, I'll not be told what to write by an editor, I'll not be proofed by 5 editors before I am published,
Yeah.
and giving myself the will to say whatever it is that I want to say, and that has worked for me. And so now, as we are saying, if I had a daughter, for example, when I was 30, I would be now preparing them to say, express yourself through videos, or, express yourself through song, express yourself through spoken word, because that is what is happening now.
Yeah.
You reach you reach out to more people, or you get more impact if you are on TikTok than you are on radio. Yet for us then, radio was king. They
Absolutely.
keep saying,
Yes. Yeah.
they still say radio is king, but with just a phone and a microphone, or even just your mobile phone, it doesn't even have to have the extended microphone or the extended selfie camera, or the
Yeah.
ring light. Just that you're able to, reach thousands more in a day than you would with traditional media. So a lot of that has changed. I mean, now we're talking AI. I was
Yes.
sitting with someone in the car, and all they had to do was like, okay, what is my calendar like today? And, they just get, well, it's not Siri, it's someone else. Just get, a whole run for their day.
Wow.
So imagine how, or even just recipes, and someone's
Yeah.
like, okay, I think Meta has this AI thing where you ask it for either a recipe, or you ask it for, how do I do this? Give me the presentation of what a charcuterie board should look like, and it'll just send you a picture, and then you get working with that. Now you have a virtual assistant.
Yes.
You don't even need anyone else to help you do your work. And yet we thought secretaries and personal assistants were the thing, but now they're saying, no, you can have those, but you can still do a lot more in your own space,
Yeah.
by yourself. So now we're talking AI, and they keep saying, us as millennials, we've lived through so much. Because we started with radio, then went social media,
Yeah.
now we're dealing with AI, stuff that our parents, may not have been able to all deal with, gone through pandemics, we've gone through so many things. But yeah, so it's interesting how a lot of that has evolved, and now, and you know, I keep seeing people saying, the kids will be all right, they'll be all right. I'm like, yes, they will be, because the tools that they have at their disposal now are nothing like we had
Yeah.
to be able to make life comfortable and meaningful for ourselves. So yeah.
Definitely. The one, I'm not sure if it's a downside, but as you were saying, for example, TikTok, everything is meant to happen in 20, 30 seconds, maximum 1 minute. So sometimes I think, even when we had, let's say, our first crush or even our first conflict with someone, these things take time, whether it was to metabolize, to process, to understand, to resolve, to live it or get over it. But now everything is so quick, so
And that is why we have a lot of mental health issues, because people are just, there's so much that is being thrown at these young ones, and the Gen Zs are saying, no, let's get back to basics. So yes, the tools exist, AI, things that, want to make their life easier, but also conversations that they, that would have happened within an hour are now happening within 3-4 seconds, that kind of a thing. But then I'm just going to cite the political scene in Kenya, the last couple of weeks. We've seen what those tools can do, the good that they can do when put to use properly. Because now the Gen Zs are going back and saying, okay, so you telling us this, however, when we go through 1, 2, 3, this is not the product that we get. This is not the product that we see. When you tell us as a government we have rights, this is, how we're supposed to be treated. This is how much we're supposed to be paying hospitals and all those things. They just run the information through, AI algorithms, and they're being told different stuff. So they're using that to challenge the status quo. But I also know a lot of people who are having issues with hiring Gen Zs, for example. Their concentration at work, the fact that they're not able to metabolize, certain norms, and they question everything, but they're also not able to follow rules and regulations, and that can be seen as a problem. So that is something we need to think about and how we counter it. And for me, that's where we get back to the basics at home. I mean, yes, and then that's why we also get back to the reason as to why rules and regulations exist. So there's a lot of freedom, there's a lot of good in having young people or anyone else experience their freedom and be their real authentic self. However, there's certain parameters within which those things have got to occur. Then it comes back to the environment, it comes back to the nurturing, it comes back to a whole lot of things. So yeah, it's good, but then it is also bad.
Yeah.
But then we have seen that there's a lot of good that comes out from, when we started out with social media, it was, it was always like, oh my God, you're putting too much out there. And indeed, you go and say, oh, I'm here, I'm doing this. And within minutes, you have either people bidding you up or you have people robbing you of the things that you have. Now people are cautious. They'll be like, just post the day or an hour after you have left.
Yes.
Where it is that you were,
Yeah.
Don't publish your pictures of your children, their faces. Don't put their names up, because once you do that, people know where they go to school, what they, how they get to school, those things, like, there's got to be caution, that we have to take to be able to be comfortable within these freedoms that exist, or that the new technologies and life has afforded us. So it's all those things to think about, which I think then leads to what the complex of life is, but also what the beauty of life is, being able to have those things side by side, and totally immerse yourself in them and put them to use.
No, absolutely. Because I also think absolute freedom with no direction whatsoever is a recipe for disaster.
Yes, it is.
Because even if an artist is ready to go as wild as he can be, but if there's a final scope or a final destination, at least, to have, and then as they say, it might not be ultimately the destination, but enjoy the ride and the experience along the way. But interesting what you said about security, and it's true because, again, especially in the world of social media, people need to be aware, have consent forms signed, empower people by letting them know what's going on and what their rights are, just as what your rights are if you're the one publishing, and one should be careful to protect oneself as well, as you were saying, and not just the security aspect, but I think when you publish certain things online, they definitely reveal something about you. So just be sure that once it's out there, it's out there.
It's out there. Yes, digital footprint is a real thing. I see that a lot, and I see people struggling once they have made something of themselves to now scrap things off the internet. And the problem is, once you have put it there, you don't know where it goes. You don't know who's in charge. You don't know when it will resurface.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, digital footprint is a huge, huge thing.
Do you think is the quality of human relations still the same despite all the social media, which is in a way a barrier sometimes?
So that's the thing. I mean, do you see BNI functioning without a WhatsApp group?
I don't. For some, it would.
Exactly. For some, it would, and for some,
It wouldn't.
yeah, it
Yeah.
wouldn't. But also, just the way it is structured at the moment, do you see us being able to or read our emails in time? Is it receive a phone call every week from someone? Like, it is so much
Yeah.
to juggle.
Yeah.
So even when social media and the internet has been there, it has afforded us so much good. Yeah. And I'm like, would we trade it for the ease that which it makes life? No. So the idea then is to just, like you said, protect yourself and protect that which you're functioning within, that kind of a space. Use it to get to where you're going, but you don't have to tell everyone that you are there. I mean, if someone has to then go look at my location and where I've been, they will find it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But if they're not looking for it, don't give it to them.
I think, what you said really struck a chord with me because I actually asked myself a while back, what was it that made us different before we had WhatsApp, even before SMS? I mean, I remember if you made an appointment, unless you had really been driven off the road by a truck, you would make it to
would
that
have to make
appointment,
it.
right? And that meant we changed our mind less. What you'd start, you'd finish. You'd commit a lot more because now very often people will say, "We'll talk Monday morning," or "We'll let you know then. Let's touch base." And I'm thinking, but you need to plan sometimes. It can't all be last minute. I feel like it, or I don't right now.
So those are the things. I mean, or just think about weddings and the fact that people send out wedding cards, and you're like, because we have, especially in Africa where we don't RSVP, because we have informed so they will be there, and they keep their word, they will be there. Weddings are one of those things that you rarely see people canceling.
Yeah.
They will show up for you, and the only thing that you have is a card
Yeah.
that has asked you to come.
Yeah.
You see, it's a piece of paper. And these days, people are doing digital. They're doing
Yeah.
videos and they're doing e-cards and e-invites and all those things. We still don't have an RSVP system, but people do show up. And I think that it also comes down to respect, really. How much do I value you, your time? How much do I respect me and my time and value what I, have to put out there? Because I'm like, why do you say something you're not going to follow through on?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then not inform me that you have not followed through. Why do I have to keep reminding you? So I mean, those are the things. I know everyone in life is pretty much juggling. I think probably 70% more than they were before.
Yes.
Yeah, because a lot has changed, and to be comfortable, you have to do about 3-4 things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saying,
Yeah.
how do I have 2 incomes,
Yeah.
or how do you cannot survive on one income, so you cannot do that one thing only every day, Monday to Sunday, and then earn from it and have a livelihood from it. You have to still do other things
Yeah.
on the side to be able to bring you fulfillment, to bring you the money that you need. So I think everyone is juggling a lot more, and which is why maybe we are grateful that we have the ease that comes with doing life with the internet, but also think about the fact that we're also capable of, following through and having a respect for our time. Yeah.
And I think we're almost all multitasking, hustling in some way. It's very true because I remember my parents. It was one job, and then by 5, 6 p.m. it was done, and then it was family time, and on Sunday family time. But now we work 7 days a week. I find myself, whether it's site surveys, meetings, or just sitting down and working right through the weekend. So my daughters will sometimes say, "Are you working today as well, Mummy?" And I'm like, "Mummy always works." And then I'm like, "Why am I saying that?" I mean, it's true, but
also,
should I be saying this?
But also, it's the expectation of people, because I run a business that is I work out of home.
Yeah.
And I find messages at 11:59 p.m. on a Saturday night. Can I get a box for tomorrow morning? And I'm like, so if I did not work at home, because you're not going to work today, you're going to church. After church, you will have family time, depending on what your schedule looks like. And I'm like, so why is there an expectation that I can
And will.
to you
Yes.
on a Sunday after you've made an order at 11:58 p.m.? Why is there that kind of expectation? And I keep asking myself, I'm like, so what if I was not working from home?
That's changed as well, huh?
That has changed a lot. I mean, the boundaries between life, the work and life balance,
Gone.
don't exist at all. Yeah, and it's just like it's very interesting to think, because you're an entrepreneur, you're a hustler, you have to hustle every day of the week, and I mean, we could give that back to capitalism, but I'm like, it's also just the people, and I'm like, why? Because we have 24 hours, supermarkets, and we have so we expect, and yet when I go to Europe, they don't work weekends.
Yeah.
Sundays, everyone is off.
Yeah.
Yeah, in certain premises, like you do not. So those are the things. I mean, it's a growing country. It's like the growing pains, as maybe one would call them. But also infused with capitalism and infused with an non-existent work-life balance and culture, that then you have to sit and think,
You need to be intentional about it, I think, and say, today I won't, do this. I mean, no, it's very true. And you can imagine in the graphic and digital world, especially with the pandemic, because we were online 24/7.
Oh, yeah.
We're now expected, as you were saying, Saturday night, 10 p.m. Someone will say, I need to go to print Monday morning with this. Something that in the past they would have given you a week to put together. And now they're expecting you to work through the night to make it happen. And I think we spoiled people, especially during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
Because we had the time.
We had
nothing else. We had the time. And so it's very difficult to go back from that. And sometimes I find it's the same also with pricing in life. If you go in one direction, it's very difficult to go back in the other.
Yeah.
Because then you've sold yourself short in a way, and it's very difficult to work your way back. So, and the same with time, because no one's giving that time back to any of us, are they?
True.
Oh, well. But still, as you were saying, the beauty of life, finding what works for you, balancing, taking care of yourself so you can also take care of others around you. But thank you so much for sharing these thoughts with us, Ruth. Anything you'd like to say to set us off for the week, something that you want us to carry forward?
I'm not in my motivational speak era yet. I've spoken in there.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Our absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us at Studio 84. And we hope to see you again, because it's always nice to get to know each other better, share this with friends, see if anyone has something to contribute, something they'd like us to discuss further. You never know.
You never know.
Exactly. Till soon, everyone. Thanks again so much, and have a good day.